What's up, Diablo 4 Sorc? So let's talk about it. And I want to open it up with this comment over here that says, what is the issue with Sorc? I don't understand why this class is hated so much by the devs. They might as well remove the class completely from the game. So basically, the player is upset. And I want to go ahead and actually kind of talk about the future of the Sorcs, as there's a really good article over on Wowhead by two really good Sorcs. Actually, one of the most popular endgame, like top tier builds. Makuna over here was actually talking about it. And basically, they're talking about the Sorcs and the future of the players for the next season, and the Sorc players are pretty upset and mad about the current state of it. And myself that plays all of the classes, I even had a lot of top speedruns back in Season 2, back when Ball Lightning was really cool and the Sorc was eating well. The state of the sorceress is actually really bad at the moment, and I want to go ahead and actually start off by showing off some items. So, in Season 5, the Sorc is getting some cool new toys. Well, kind of. So, this is one item that I was actually super excited about. It's a two-hander, so you're going to be utilizing basically both of your slots. You get this cool staff that makes it so casting a core skill shoots out 2 instances of Fire Bolt, Frost Bolt, or Spark, and then it's going to match the elements of your last 2 non-core skill casts. These projectiles deal up to 90x damage. Now, I already made a video talking about how this literally does not work. There are skills that you can activate and it just doesn't work properly. And that was, of course, with the PTR, so even with this thing working 100% of the time, it's still very weak. When you have classes like the Barbarian that can run a one-hander that can go up to 300, this is where these are almost designed in completely different games. This is kind of how the Sorc community feels about the current state of the game. And it really comes down to this comparison over here, and I think it was a really good comparison someone made while we were live streaming, which is like the Sorceress is stuck in Diablo 2 stats, while the Barbarian and some of the other classes in the game are basically in Diablo 3 numbers, where okay, with Sorc we get +2 to all skills or something, and the Barbarian's alright, we get this sweet thing that does 10,000% damage. And that's literally how I feel about the current state of the way Diablo is with the Barbarian, and just constantly just giving it a bunch of buffs. I mean, when we look at some of the stats, yes, I understand, just as a heads up, that the Sorceress technically has the highest pit clear. This hasn't actually been updated. It actually is a lot further than this. But the thing is that the Sorc actually has the highest pit clear, and I'm not sure if they're using this as reference, because this isn't any official one, but trust me, Blizzard knows about max roll, because most of the max roll, and even myself that is a Mobilytics partner, they know of all these different websites because we work with them. And the thing is that they know that this exists. If they're balancing around this, I actually don't think that is the greatest idea. And the reason why is because the top 1% of players is going to be obviously a lot smaller. Your average Sorceress player versus your average Barbarian player are experiencing 2 completely different video games, where the Barbarian's just destroying things and just having a blast with extra tankiness. Sorc's getting so many nerfs in Season 5 for I'm not really sure what reason. Over here you can see this person says Sorc is just watching the Rogue and the Barbarian have fun. Now, I want to admit, in the background that you guys are seeing, this is gameplay of Season 5 with the new chain lightning pants, and they are absolutely amazing. However, it's definitely doing some things unintended with the Crown of Lucian. More likely it won't come out this way, but I almost want to say, at this point, just let it come out this way. Let Sorc eat good again. Let it be like Ball Lightning for a season, and make the Sorc players happy, because right now, a lot of people are not happy at all. And what's funny is this post predicted the future, because we just covered recently the most recent patch notes. So you can see this meme over here, someone saying Sorc is weak. There's okay, we got it, Sorc is weak. Barb is strong. Okay, yeah, Barb is strong. Alright, so we need to nerf the Barbarian and buff the Sorc. And then you have a jokingly Blizzard, yeah, okay, buff the Barb, nerf the Sorc. But the craziest thing, in the patch that's coming out in 2 days, they are literally nerfing the best Sorc build, which is the Fire Wall, Fire Bolt build, because it actually has to pass through now, which is going to make console players, I don't really know how they're going to be playing the build, because it just casts it right on top of the monster. And they're nerfing that, and then they decided we're going to be buffing the Whirlwind Barb. I cannot make this up. And perhaps you guys have to maybe understand that these are technically bugs, and they do fix the game, and this is straight up a nerf and a buff to those classes, even though it's arguably a bug fix or it's not working as intended. I think instead they should just reword how it actually works. Rather than taking more time to go ahead and change some of the bugs, just update it and then maybe buff a number. It'll be much easier, and I think that way it can kind of speed up the process. So what I mean by that, so let's say that they feel like the Fire Wall, Fire Bolt build is too strong. They would, instead of making it bug, just word it to exactly how it is performing and then buff another number, just tweak it right there. That way they don't have as much work for them to do, because again, some of these are technically bug fixes, and while some players may see it like this, and I see it kind of the same way, because it doesn't matter if they're fixing the bug. If something is going to be better, people want to play it. If it's going to be worse, people will be less inclined to play it, right? And with the Sorc in Season 5, there's a lot of what I would say is nerfs that were kind of uncalled for. Like, we have Teleport that's getting a nerf and a buff. So the nerf is the cooldown, so it's not going to be up as often. But the buff is that you've increased the damage. Now, I've always wanted to build a Teleport build, but it is very, very difficult. It's like a top 1% build anyways, and it requires absolutely perfect things, and you have to sacrifice so much to get that cooldown. But now they've made it so the cooldown is even longer, so like good luck playing it. So they gave it a buff and a nerf, but I don't think anyone is looking at this and saying, oh man, they buffed the damage. I'm so excited to play. Because even if you wanted to play the damage build with a 500x multiplier, the cooldown makes it so you can't play it. So it's almost backwards in terms of its design. I saw a really good video by Yugioh talking about the Chain Lightning Pants and how they kind of work against how it was originally designed, unless of course you are playing with Crown Lucian, which is just making it ultra bugged. But even that, like the Vox Omnium, I think unanimously is just seen as worse. That's this thing over here where I was talking about, like, why is a two-hander giving you 90x when a one-hander that has, like, basically almost the same stats, giving you a 300x multiplier, and the Barbarian can have 3 extra weapons, including this. And I almost want to say that there is some solutions, because I don't want to just complain to complain. I want to offer some sort of solutions, and I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts, because I'm working on a write-up. You can see this person saying that they uninstalled the game due to the devs not being able to balance the Sorcs because they're just kind of upset. And I think it comes down to a couple of things. There's a bunch of different classes in Diablo that have some sort of crazy multiplier that has no cap. Like if we look at Victimize, or we look at Close Quarters on the Rogue, where these crazy numbers start to happen. I understand Victimize is bugged and it's like doing way more damage, but the time that Sorceress was really awesome and good is because, well, there was a time where the Hydra at one point was so good because it would scale to the level and it was actually counting as another monster in the game, which actually is why, like, in, like, the Abattoir of Zir, you could do some crazy stuff. But it really comes down to these, like, crazy multipliers that you can get with a lot of the builds that Sorceress doesn't have in terms of the key passive. Like, if we're to, like, look at, like, Barbarian and it's, like, Gushing Wounds or something like that, like, what do we have with this? Sure, Shatter is probably working not intended, it's bugged, and that's why it's also so good, because it's doing some double dipping and stuff. And it's weird because, like, you're playing a fire build, but you'd want to run the ice one. Like, why would that make sense? And, like, Veers is apparently getting fixed, and this has been bugged since the launch of the game. And it's great that they're fixing all these bugs, but, like, okay, so my crit strikes have a 10% chance to cause the damage to arc, so I have a 10% chance to do maybe some more damage. But again, when you look at, like, all the things that would have like 100x plus multiplier on some of the builds, or even Druid getting 50x for being in Werebear, and then also an additional like 30% attack speed when you're in Werewolf. Like, even though Druid probably needs some buffs too, I'm gonna be honest, specifically on like the companion end, but the Sorc doesn't really have a really good key passive, nor is like the enchant system like really powerful compared to like Druid got some massive changes. So I think some things that can fix, and I was actually checking out the article, they were saying like things that we can actually fix. So I want to go over this as well, because I think it's kind of important to look at what other people are saying. There's actually a nerf to the ice armor as well that was actually in one of the notes, where ice armors was giving you barrier value would increase. It said they fixed an issue. I didn't know that this was an issue. I thought that that's how it worked, was like you would do more damage to get more shields, which was good, and that is getting changed. And they're also basically nerfing the immortality on the sorceress. And then on top of this, for like no reason, right? Like the burn sorceresses weren't like that insane anyways, except for if you can't PvP, but that's like kind of a niche thing anyways, where now we have all of these caps set in place, which are not only harder to hit, but they have now a cap. Like Burning Instinct, it says the crit strike bonus got reduced from 1% per 25 to 1% per 50. So they basically cut that in half and put a cap on it, so you lose damage and now it has a cap. Like, it should be the other way around. They should, like, if their idea is, okay, people are getting too much damage, let's go ahead and reduce it, and then remove a cap. That would make way more sense versus, okay, we're going to put a cap on it and make it harder. And then Ceaseless Conduit, the crackling energy damage got reduced from 3% per 20 to 1% per 25, and it has a cap. It's like crackling energy. I haven't seen a crackling energy build. I tried with like Esudor's Overflowing Cameo, and I found it laughably bad. And it's really awkward to see them like nerf something that isn't even good. Like, maybe they got some other plans. So I want to say, like, looking at these, I really want to say that hopefully they have some other things kind of cooking in the back, because when we had the change to Flurry on Rogue of like plus 25% damage, I was like, well, 100 times, 0 is still 0. What's the point of giving it 25? And then they came out with Season 5 announcement, and then like, okay, there's all these other buffs coming up. I'm like, okay, cool, I can kind of get it. That makes sense. So maybe when they release some of these notes, like, okay, Ceaseless Conduit, Crackling Energy, no one's really playing that, right, to make your source of damage. Some builds will run it so they can pick it up so they get another multiplier. But maybe they got other things cooking up. So I think for some sort of feedback here is when they are cooking something up, don't halfway release it. Because when you halfway release it, people are just going to be like, LOL, they have no idea what they're doing. And then on top of that, it will bait other players to try to think, oh, wow, dude, like the Stun Grenade Rogue Flurry got buffed. And I was interested in checking out, okay, maybe now it's playable. Sometimes when certain things get buffed, you have to like try it out to see if it's actually any good. And that was still laughably bad. And for whatever reason, they nerfed like the Lucky Hit chance on the Stun Grenades when people didn't even use the brand new unique that they made for Season 4 with the Saboteur Signet. So I want to say that it would be much better that they release everything at once, so there's not this disconnect or bait for other players to try something else out. And then I was really excited about this because they were buffing Hydra, all Elemental Summoner. Now we have also another cap. There's all these caps on things that weren't even good in the first place, and that is very frustrating. So I was looking at what they actually said that they can actually change over here. So one of them was to revert the ice armor changes, because the build's going to be way more squishy. Like, so Sorceress in general has a lot of problems, and I want to address them, but I want to go over this over here to like kind of say what they need to change. Buff the individual spells, so hopefully they can get some more damage over there. And then on top of that, they need to rework spell-specific unique items to increase the variety. I think that'd be really good. A third enchant would be cool, and allow Sorcs to equip an extra item as a stat stick. So I think it'd be really cool to have a wand and an offhand and then a staff. And I think that would really help out. Maybe you can have some really cool system where they would swap to that said item for a very specific skill. That would be kind of hard though. I think it would be like much more simple. Just let the Sorc equip a staff on the back. That's it. Just let it have another item slot. I think that at the moment is one of these solutions that I think could be really, really good. Unless they just release the Chain Lightning Sorc as is from the PTR. If they do that, I think the Sorc is in a really good spot. But I think that there's a lot more than just an enchant. I think that the Sorc probably needs to re-look at some of the key passives, and I think it'd be really nice to specifically get another enchant, because right now, like almost on every single build, you basically have to choose Firebolt because it's just a part of another multiplier. So you're left with, okay, I can select one enchant, and a lot of these just are kind of outdated, and it's kind of like how the Druid got a lot of the buffs to the Spirit board. I think it'd be, or the Spirit boons. It'd be really nice to see another buff here, because with the Sorc, at the moment, I mean, like, it's basically your skill bar is always clogged up with a very few set of skills, and I'm just going to go ahead and put these in real quick so you guys can kind of understand what I'm talking about, because Sorc still has a problem with vulnerability, and I think that could be something that could be looked at, and just the ultimate in general probably could be something that could get some sort of buffs. And I remember that they changed something with Inferno. It's like, well, we're not really using this because a lot of the ultimates in general in Diablo 4 probably need a rework. But as far as like just giving them some solutions, so obviously the numerical numbers need to be equal. I mean, it's a two-hander for 90x versus a one-hander with 300x. No brainer, right? That should be like immediately a red flag that those things need to be changed. But like they've tried to fix some of the stuff. If you guys have seen some of the aspects, it's like there's one aspect where if you have like defensive skill. Let me go to the temper. Defensive skill. You get to get more damage if you don't happen to have like a defensive skill. But then like, what are you supposed to play on the Sorc? Like if you do not play, the problem also with this is teleport is considered a defensive skill, so this doesn't even like really work with it. And again, you just kind of run out of room on the sorceress. Like you have 3 of your skills basically always used for specifically those 3 skills. And while they are trying to get away from it, you really can't play a Sorc build without teleport. Like it's built into like how the class is kind of design, as well as having some of these for extra survivability, and these are both getting nerfed in the next season. So again, one of the suggestions was to not nerf the ice armor effect, how like you would basically get more. But on top of that, I think the best solution, to be like the fastest solution, is if they were to give the sorceress, remove some of these caps on the damage, rework the key passives to be more in line with some of the other builds. But on top of that, I think one thing would be cool, again, I will agree, another enchant would be cool, but just a little bit more variety in the way that the class can function. So to encourage maybe a multiple like skill-based build would be kind of cool, and I like the idea of the Vox Onion for a very smooth playstyle, because you just cast your core skill, then it shoots out the basic skills, making Pain Gorgers actually pretty cool in terms of being a smoother build. But it would be cool to basically have some sort of build where you would have all these different elements. Maybe they can make a specific unique in the next season or something, but it seems like every Sorc build is going to rely on specifically these 3 skills. Then you have maybe your damage dealer and maybe an ultimate. But I want to say that it would be cool to kind of move away from this sort of a thing and see other kind of ways to play the sorceress emerge, or just make the Chain Lightning build just come out the way it is. I think that would be kind of the faster solutions, but again, another weapon slot would be probably the easiest and quickest way to make people happy. But those are my suggestions. I would love to know yours down below for the Sorc in the next upcoming season. What would you guys fix with the sorceress? And also, another thing that I was thinking about also is when you are tied down to one element, right? In this, because of the way that the game works is like you have all these, like you have like some cold ones over here, you have some fire ones over here, and then you have your lightning one over here. When you're trying to build these hybrid builds, which is kind of like what the Tall Rushering kind of encourages you to do, is you just don't have enough skill points. So it'd be really cool to see all your bonuses from cold, fire, and lightning are all merged into one. That would be a really cool item as well. But anyways, that's my suggestion. That's my kind of rant on the kind of why the sorceress community is not really happy, and they're kind of mad at the current state of the sorceress in the game. And I think it is a really fun class, and hopefully we can see it return to former glory in Season 5. But anyways, that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell if you want to see an update to this, as I'm pretty confident that Sorceress will get some sort of buff, because a lot of the Diablo partners, including myself, have been giving them some feedback, and hopefully we can get some awesome new stuff to play with in Season 5.